This is Shutout Sessions with KyTheGoalie. Today's guest does it all. She's a former college athlete, a coach, sideline reporter, a podcaster, and the voice of the Halifax Thunderbirds. She's also building the future of girls lacrosse in Canada. Player, coach, broadcaster, grower of the game. Let's welcome Maki Jenner. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Wow, that was quite the introduction. Thank you so much for that bio. You've done an excellent job at your research, so I super appreciate that. How are things going? I know you said you're back at school. How's that going so far for you?
It's good.
Yeah,
It's good to be back in rec season. I'm excited about school season. So,
there you go.
all right, let's just jump right into it. What's it like being one of the voices of the Halifax Thunderbirds?
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. I feel like I get to work with a really special group of people, whether it's actually in the broadcast booth, working with guys like Pete and Pat. Those are two of the absolute best in the business. But just the team as well. You know, the Thunderbirds are a super unique group of men that I'm lucky to deal with kind of week in and week out. And we've been able to build a good rapport between myself and the guys. So it's definitely a lot of fun, and it's something that I'm super fortunate to, have had the opportunity to move here and then get to work for the Thunderbirds.
That's amazing. What does your game day media prep look like? Like how early do you get to the stadium? What do you research for the other team, etc.?
Yeah, so the week of a broadcast is typically quite busy. Me and the other broadcasters always meet with the producer kind of ahead of the week of the game just to kind of talk storylines, different players to watch. So that's kind of when we'll do our prep kind of on both teams. And then when it comes to game time, because I'm technically the team's PR and communications manager, I have a ton of other kind of roles and responsibilities on a game day. So I'll be up and at 'em as early as 7:30 a.m. I'll be at the rink and we'll be at both shoot arounds and we'll have the opportunity to kind of chat with the different teams, coaches, players if we didn't get to already during the week. And then I always try to get home and get some food in and a power nap if I can. If my body permits myself to rest because I'm going on adrenaline. But yeah, then we'll go right back to the arena, usually 2 hours before game time, do mic checks. So that's kind of what the preparation and what kind of a typical game day would look like for me.
Just one NLL player that's a must see in person to really appreciate what they do on the field.
Yeah, I think for me this year especially was Thomas Hogarth. And, he spent the last few seasons bouncing around different teams, but I really found like he found his home with Halifax. And he's someone that, you'll kind of see his crazy highlight reel goals on social media, but he does a lot of that kind of fancy stuff on the floor too that might not be kind of in the camera's view or whatever. So he's got crazy silky mitts, as I'm sure you kids would say. And he's always ready to fire the ball at different angles. And so I think seeing him come into Halifax and what he's really able to do on the floor was super fun to watch. And he's just a guy you never know when he's going to shoot, if he's going to shoot, how he's going to shoot, but it's always a crazy way to do it. So he's been a lot of fun to watch this season.
Yeah. For me, it's Andrew Q of the Swarm. He's not really a really like loud player, but when you need a bucket or like a quick game winner, he steps up in the big moment.
Oh, yes, he is Captain Clutch, no doubt.
How do you keep it cool in the booth or on the sideline when there's a big player game winner?
Yes, well, I'm a big sports fan, whether it's football, hockey, basketball, whatever it is. So I feel like I'm super used to letting my life be dictated by the outcomes of my favorite teams playing. And so working for a team, but then also kind of being in the booth and having to be non-biased can be really tricky for the old brain. But I think it's something where you know, does the outcome super impact me? Maybe not. Do I wish I could have control of it sometimes? Yes, but I've definitely had to remind myself to keep it professional sometimes and just remember at the end of the day we're getting to witness, great lacrosse on the floor at all times. So just a big self reminder of being cool, calm, collected as much as I can kind of helps my composure there.
Yeah, I don't know if I could handle that. If I'm
Right?
watching a Swarm game and Andrew Q hits a game winner, like I don't think I could keep calm.
It's tricky. It's tricky.
What was it like calling the game with your uncle, Teddy Jenner, last season?
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, I feel like he was someone that I really got to witness his career evolve, even just growing up and seeing him kind of go through the ranks. And he was someone that really helped me network with a lot of people in the league and connect with different people that, has ultimately allowed me to have these opportunities. And so I'm super appreciative that the league and TSN kind of allowed me to get in the booth with my uncle. But I feel like I've learned so much from him and what he's been able to do. And, he's one of the best voices in lacrosse. And so to be able to have that moment as uncle and niece for the two of us was really fun. And I just kind of was bouncing off of his energy because, of course, I was nervous. I wanted to kind of step up my game to match what he's able to do, but he makes it super easy. And having that comfortability kind of allowed that game to flow. And it was a really great game to call too. It was kind of right after Toronto, like, sold the farm, sent off Nick Rose, all their D guys out of the way, and they really had nothing to lose, and they came into Halifax and took them down. So it was fun to be a part of.
Yeah, that has to be like really, really fun. Like someone you know that close, like doing your job with that has to be really fun.
100%.
So let's talk some NLL draft. Halifax has two first-round picks this year. That's a really big deal. What do you think they're gonna look for during in those picks?
Yeah, it's exciting. This is the first time that we've had two first rounders since the team moved here in 2019. And I think it's something where we built a lot of momentum last year. We made it, pretty far into the playoffs for this team, the farthest since moving here again. And so I think it's exciting when you've got a core group that you can, trust and the veteran leadership that you have. But now you're looking at the talent pool in this draft class and you're really going to be able to pick up two guys that have played, some of them at the world stage, NCAA, some playing senior A already. And so some of them have that like big game mentality and composure skills already. So I think they're just looking for two guys that can really step in and make an immediate impact without having to go through some of those growing pains of being a rookie per se.
What positions do you think they're looking to fill?
Yeah, I think the area that they'll want to look at is at the back end on defense. And I think it's guys that can play lockdown defense, but can also spark a lot in transition. And I know last year when Halifax kind of went on their winning streak, a lot of that came from the confident play of course, Warren Hill at the back end, but then also their defense and Ryan Tarafanko going off for, 5 points a game or whatever he was averaging. And I think those types of players that can really contribute all over the floor will be kind of what they're looking for.
Are there any prospects you've been watching that might be able to fit into a Thunderbird style?
Yeah, I mean, of course, having those two first rounders is huge. You're going to get two guys that are quite talented, and I think me being at the Minto Cup last year, I kind of saw some of those younger guys that are going to be in this year's draft, and someone that really impressed me on the eastern side from Orangeville was. Sorry, from Coquitlam was Connor Knock, and he had played out east and then eventually made it to the Adnax and won a Minto Cup. But he's someone that he just wins. Like he won a Founders, he won two back-to-back Minto Cups. He's a really stout defender, but he can also get going in transition, and that's someone that I feel like would really fit in well. And then you've got guys like Kyle Pepper, Jackson Fridge that are also kind of Western guys that have that mentality that they can play anywhere. And I think that that's kind of the type of player that this Thunderbirds team wants.
Who do you think is going to go number one overall?
You know what? I think I feel like there's been a lot of hype around CJ Kirst, and he's one of the only Kirst brothers that I have not had the pleasure of meeting. But if he's anything like the ones that I have met, he's everything you want in a teammate and in an athlete and a player that will just give you 120% every single time. I think every single NLL team should have a Curse brother on on their roster just because they're such great human beings and just such workhorses. And so I think I'm going on the give it to an American, get him number one overall. I think the Toronto Rock will pick CJ Curse. Do you have someone that you think will go number one this year?
I mean, Joey Spallina's looking good to me.
That's right. He certainly is.
Tell me about the NLL Box Out podcast with Mickey and Cooper.
Yeah, so this was something that was a project that the NLL kind of presented to the two of us the summer before the season started. And they kind of just wanted some new faces to present this podcast where we could talk about the game kind of at a different level. I feel like there's so many lacrosse podcasts that are super stat driven and stat oriented and really breaking down plays and not so much just kind of the surface level talking about different trends and storylines and so that was something that, Cooper and I really wanted to kind of put forward. And so it was a lot of fun working with him this past year. And he's someone that is super, super stat like minded. He's so smart, whereas I kind of go by the old eye test and I'll just kind of judge based on what I see. But it was a lot of fun and we're super appreciative again of the NLL to kind of give us that platform to kind of reach a new audience of fans.
I mean, Cooper's from San Diego, and you're in Halifax. Obviously, you don't have a Georgia. You don't have a Georgia Swarm guy there. I think you need to fill in the role.
Yeah,
we
you
need.
could
We
be
need.
our intern this year.
You played box and field at a high level. Which one's harder and why?
Yeah, this one is a tricky question because I feel like back when I was playing box lacrosse, the highest level that was really of opportunity for me was not really past minor. So like U17 was kind of the highest level and I just remember that last year of my Team BC campaign was the hardest I feel like I've ever like worked and we had like a hell week where it was just nonstop practice, conditioning. We did like hot yoga, a bunch of team bonding. And that was a ton of work and then of course, making that jump then to playing like Division 1 college lacrosse is super tricky. So I feel like you almost need to get a better person to represent playing, like D1 lacrosse and then someone that's represented Team Canada because now, there's women's box at that level, which is huge. So I would say probably field lacrosse at, a collegiate level just because it is intense all the time. But I'll never forget, I feel like I was in the best shape of my life when I when I was playing box.
What helped you the most when you made the jump into college lacrosse?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Victoria, British Columbia, which is on the island out west there, and so again, it was hard to find opportunities for young women to kind of get the exposure, and the recruiting process was a little bit different than someone that could play at a prep school or a high school in the U.S. that's playing all the time. We just didn't really have that opportunity. So my parents and I was fortunate to have them allow me to travel and participate in different camps and on different teams and doing different tournaments and stuff like that. And so I think, trying to play as much as I can and get that game experience at a high level, even in high school, really helped me be prepared for kind of the work that was ahead at the college level.
You went from Denver to Concordia. What was different about those two programs?
Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting because I committed to Denver before they made the rule change of, September 1st of your junior year. So I was in ninth grade when I committed to Denver, and they were kind of like a top 50 program. And then by the time that I actually made it into the school, they were a top 10 program. And so I think just with the rapport that they had built in the NCAA, it was really intense and it was just high level all the time. And it was great to be like part of a competitive program. But I'm super school oriented too, and I felt like finding that balance was just tricky for me. So when I made the decision to transfer to a Division 2 school, there's no love lost on the competitive nature of the programs, and there's it's the same. You're getting such competitive cream of the crop athletes at all divisions of college lacrosse. But I just found it allowed me to kind of balance my schedule a little bit more while still, being able to compete at a high level program.
What was the biggest challenge in college lacrosse? Sorry.
Yeah, no, I think it was honestly the mental toughness side, and I think you're starting to see that come to the forefront a lot in sports of just talking about the mental fortitude and being able to believe in yourself. And I think I let a lot of like self-doubt creep in, which I think a lot of athletes will deal with throughout their career, whether it's younger or older. And so I think that was something that I really struggled with was just kind of finding that confidence and so I think, now that I'm older, looking back on it, there were a lot of people around me to help support me that I may not have just taken advantage of. And so I think that that's a huge part of the process.
If you could give 12-year-old Mackie advice about the game, what would you say?
Yeah, I think again, it's almost I'm a super perfectionist person, so I like to have everything kind of the way I want it. I'm a bit of a control freak sometimes, and anyone I work with will probably say the same. But I think sometimes it's learning to embrace kind of those like failure moments or those moments where you feel like you've let yourself down a little bit and just learning from them. My dad was one of my coaches growing up, and he was one of the best coaches that I've had, and he's still coaching back in Victoria, and he always said, you're never winning or losing, you're always winning or learning. And so I think if I could tell myself, to embrace those moments of heartache or disappointment a little bit more and just, embrace that and learn to take those moments and apply them to the next play mentality type of mindset, that would have been, I think, huge in my preparation.
You started Coastal Fusion to grow girls lacrosse. What made you go all in on that?
Yeah, so I moved to Nova Scotia almost 4 years now. And when I was growing up, and I went to field nationals, which was basically all the Canadian provinces play against each other for a national championship, we always played against Team Nova Scotia. But when I moved here, there was no more, Team Nova Scotia field lacrosse for the women's side. And I was like, whoa, like what, what happened to the program? Like, where'd that go? And there wasn't any travel teams or anything. And so I my first experience coaching was with a field program called Blue Nose that's now kind of transformed and helped me build Coastal with a lot of those girls. And I was like, wow, like there's a lot of talent here. Like I don't want that to go to waste because some of these girls really truly could take it to the next level and start getting on scholarships. And so that was kind of my mindset. And this has kind of been my brainchild of like, I want to get these girls to the next level. And so I felt like I could really bring some of, my experience in the recruiting process and that kind of education to these girls and let them know, hey, like you girls can get scholarships to go play down in the States if you want to and have that kind of experience, which they may not have known before.
What kind of players are you trying to develop with this program?
Yeah, I think I'm someone again that, hindsight is always 2020 as they say. And so looking back on my experience, I think that one point I kind of hit too is being confident. And so I want to build not just confident athletes, but confident young women because I think that it's really important for them to feel like they can accomplish whatever they want to put their mind to. Because I think in my career, I've certainly been able to accomplish a lot at my young age. And so I think just giving them and instilling the belief that they can truly do anything is the type of player and person that I want to coach. And that's what I'm starting to see with a lot of them.
How does it feel seeing young players fall in love with the game?
It's exciting. I mean, again, box lacrosse was always popping here. And so I think bringing the field game, it's always tricky because the girls, they just want to be physical. Like that was the love of box lacrosse. And they're like, oh, we can't cross check. We can't do all this and field lacrosse. But, some of them are starting to say, wow, I really missed playing field. They just finished their box season and they're excited to get back into the field swing of things. And so it's really exciting and empowering to see just so many like young girls figure out that they can play lacrosse all year long and keep it competitive and go on different tournaments and see parts of the US that they would have never seen and have the opportunity to talk to college coaches and all of that. So it's a lot of fun from this perspective.
What would you say to someone that's nervous to try lacrosse?
Yeah, I think this was something one of my college coaches, Liza Kelly at the University of Denver, said to me is like, practice is meant for you to try things, for you to make mistakes, for you to do whatever you feel like and get comfortable. And so there's pressure, of course, you feel at a college practice, but at a club practice too, but those are the areas where you can try things and you can be adding different skills. And so I always try to implement one kind of new thing each week with them at practice. And I'm like, look, it's okay if you drop the ball. It's okay if you can't, rip this top corner behind the back, like whatever, but just try. Right. And so I think that's the biggest thing is these practices and whatnot are available to you for a reason and it's okay that you're going to make mistakes and that's going to happen. And so I think just knowing that there's comfort and no one's gonna, judge you for dropping a ball or whatever at a practice. And I think that that's how a lot of girls become more comfortable is just being okay with that.
Lacrosse is a very expensive sport, and
Mhm.
you need it affordable for someone to join your program. How else can we make lacrosse more accessible to people?
Yeah, I think we're really fortunate here in Nova Scotia to have provincial sport organizations like Lacrosse Nova Scotia to provide different opportunities, and I think the Thunderbirds do it as well, where they can offer like try lacrosse programs. And at the Thunderbirds, I'm in charge of our school programs, so we take our players and we go into schools and we bring sticks and balls and give the kids the access to learning what lacrosse is, and then from there we do gear drives and stick drives to try to collect equipment for kids to have that are maybe not financially able to, and I think you're starting to see that a lot across different NLL teams by doing these school programs and introducing it at the grassroots level, because I really think that that's where it starts. But it takes people like these pro athletes to really take charge and give back, and I think we're starting to see that, which is exciting.
If someone wants to join Coastal Fusion, where can they find out more?
Yeah, right now we're operating on our Instagram page at Coastal Fusion Lacrosse. My email and everything is linked on there, so they can go on that. My DMs are open on on that account, so I'm happy to answer any questions there.
All right, we're going into rip it or skip it rapid fire questions. Rip
Love
it
it.
equals yes, skip it equals no. Let's get
Okay,
right into it. I black indoors.
I'm gonna go with skip it. I feel like that's like an outdoor like marching on the field, kind of just reminds me of summer ball type of thing.
Yeah. Broadcasters saying lacrosse is like hockey on grass.
This is such a tough one because I feel like if it's like a newer market, I feel like I would say rip it. But then sometimes if it's like somewhere like in Canada where they kind of know what lacrosse is, then I'm gonna go skip it. So I don't know if there's like an in between, but I'm indecisive on this one.
Orange slices after the game.
Absolute 100% rip it. I miss those days.
Parents yelling shoot it every single time their kid gets the ball.
And this is a skip for me. Sometimes you gotta make the plays.
Goalie dance moves after saves.
100% rip it. You do you. I could never step in the net, so I'm all for it.
All right, Canadian thing. Lay's ketchup chips.
And I'm gonna go with rip it, but I have to ask you, did you try any when you were you did? And what were
Yeah,
your thoughts on them?
they're weird. Weird.
Really?
My mom is like, I'm pretty sure she's at home right now finishing the bag
That is
because
so
she
funny.
she loves them. Ugh. All right, start bench cut. Coaching lacrosse, broadcasting for the Halifax playoff game, or playing college lacrosse.
Ooh, this is tricky. Okay. I think I'm gonna go with starting broadcast for a playoff game because Inside the Nest gets rocking and it's a ton of fun. Ooh, bench, I think coaching lacrosse, and then I'm gonna cut playing lacrosse because I've been out of college for a few years and I'm doing okay, so I think I'm okay to cut that one.
What would you say to anyone who wants to be a coach, a player, or even a broadcaster one day?
Well, I think that one thing is kind of what you're doing, and it's just trying new things. I know you were up playing box, you're doing your podcast, you're doing all these things, and you kind of listed off the things that I'm doing, and it's like, try everything. Just get out of your comfort zone and be comfortable with the uncomfortable, and just try new things because you never know where you're going to find a skill set. And I think it just allows you to become an even stronger person and get through those times, especially, you at your young age, like you're well beyond your years and all this, and it's only going to show through in the future. So, I think it's awesome what you're doing and keep this going. And I hope you continue to grow. But yeah, it's just that. It's just keep the confidence up and just keep trying new things.
Thank you so much for coming on the show, Mackie. Where can people find you online?
Yeah, all my social media channels, Twitter, X, whatever you call it, Instagram, are all at Maki Jenner. So you're welcome to throw me a follow if you'd like, and I'm always happy to chat, answer any questions. I'm always there for young broadcasters that are looking to come up, young players, anything. So yeah, thank you so much for having me on it. I absolutely love what you're doing.
Big thanks to Maki Jenner for helping shape the future of lacrosse. And if you love the game, follow Maki. And if you ever get a chance to hear call a Thunderbirds game, trust me, you'll learn something. I'm KyTheGoalie. Stay locked in, protect the crease, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.